I'm Annie Duke. Now, away from the poker table, obviously theft is an ugly word. But at the poker table, theft is a beautiful thing. I mean, to be a successful tournament player, you need to learn how to steal pots from your opponents in order to increase your chip stacks. In this lesson, we're going to look at some of the best spots that you can steal in. As the blinds and antes go up in a tournament, you need to keep increasing your chip stack in order to prevent yourself from getting short stacked. Now, obviously, when you're lucky, you can increase your chip stack by just winning a big hand against another player who also has a hand. But remember, that doesn't happen too often, and the blinds and antes don't wait for you to get a hand against hand situation. They just don't come around that often. So that means that you're going to have to steal in order to survive in a tournament, because by stealing, then even though those blinds and antes are going up, it allows you to buy time until you do get that lucky moment of having a big hand and being able to get a bunch of chips. Now, successful players certainly understand this concept, and more importantly, they recognize that there are plenty of spots in a tournament where you can steal pots with a very high rate of success. Now, the most obvious spots have to do with bubbles. I mean, there's the final table bubble where people want to say they made a final table. The most popular is the money bubble, where players are tightening up their games because they want to ensure that they walk away with at least a minimum cash. Now, you're smart enough to know that that's not a good strategy. Your goal is to win the tournament and not cash, because you don't want to get into the money with the tiniest little chip stack you've ever seen where you can't even win the tournament from there. But lucky for you, other players do want to do this. They want to be able to say that they reached that milestone of cashing in the tournament. So this makes the bubble a great place to open up your game and steal pots, because your opponents are going to be playing way too conservatively. They're going to be reluctant to give up their shot at making the money, which means that when you open pots, they're going to be less likely to play back at you unless they have very strong hands. When they raise, you can re-raise them because they're not going to want to put their chip stack at risk and call weak. Now, the bubble is obviously the best place to steal, at least the money bubble, but there are also other mini bubbles that occur during the tournament. And you should be looking for these mini bubbles to find where else to steal pots. A lot of these mini bubbles occur when you get to breaks. When someone calls last hand before the break, especially when the break has already been announced, these are great times to steal. You have dinner break, where people want to be able to say, hey, I made the dinner break of the tournament. Plus, they might be hungry. They might be anxious to go eat. And then the end of the day break is a great one, because a big milestone for people is to say they made it through day one of a tournament. Or, I made it through day two of a tournament, however long the tournament lasts. So people are really looking to do that. So when they know that there's, 15 minutes left until the end of the day, that's a very good time to get more aggressive. Now, these breaks are very good times to steal, but particularly with the end of the day break, I do want you to be careful about trying to make too aggressive plays against short-stacked opponents. The reason why is that one of the most horrible things that can happen to you is, end up with 2 or 3 big blinds and have to come back the next day to just lose your money on the first hand. Opponents don't really want that to happen to them. And so players who are extremely short stacked at the end of the day are going to tend to be adopting a double up or die mentality. Kind of put you out of your misery kind of thing. Now, also remember that you don't need just to have breaks happening in order to help you steal pots. You should also be looking for very tight opponents who are reluctant to defend their blinds with anything less than really good hands. Those people, you should attack their blinds as often as possible. Now, you may not be the only one at the table who figures out that these blinds are very tight, and so you should be attacking them. If you see that other players, particularly players to your right, are also attacking those blinds, then when they open up against those blinds, you can sometimes re-steal from them with a very well-timed 3-bet. Now, also, you should be looking for opponents who, frankly, just raise too many hands from late position. You should look for spots where you can then re-raise them out of the pot, since they're going to have to fold most of the range that they're opening with in late position. Now, remember, all of these steal plays are going to be more effective if you don't become a maniac and do these things too often. A solid image is always going to work in your favor with respect to raises.